So anybody that's in the business, man, always look ahead and find that guy that if you can click with them at all, don't tell them you want anything. Just the best thing you do is like, hey man, like you're this much further ahead of me. Here's what I got going on. Can you just listen and offer me advice? Luckily the couple of these guys, I can just text them like, bro, what do you think? And I might not hear from them for a couple of days, but they'll, all of a sudden 10 o'clock at night, boom, I get the text like,
Nope.
hey dude, here's what I think, or call me in the morning.
Yeah.
And that's been a big help.
Welcome to the Roll Up and Roll Out podcast. Sit down with blue-collar business owners and inspired entrepreneurs to get the industry insights from the leaders that grow our local communities and learn how to scale your business. Regardless of GED, these people know how to GSD. Here is your host, Paul Childers. Let's get to work.
Welcome to another episode of Roll Up and Roll Out. My name is Paul Childers. I'm the host. And today we're going to have Jarrod Muck on the show with us, the owner of Cali Customs. And Jarrod, I just want you to kind of introduce yourself real fast and tell us a little bit about what you do and what your business is and what got you started in this industry.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, like I said, I'm Jarrod Muck. We're here in Oklahoma City. It's a truck, SUV, Jeep, side-by-side restyling shop. Do a little bit of everything, lift kits, leveling kits, lowering kits, wheels, tires, some fleet upfitting, leather interiors, a little bit of audio here and there, window tinting, spraying bed liners, pretty much anything you could think of aside from fab work. They don't do any fab work at all.
Sure.
So we just, yeah. It sounds corny, but make people's dreams come true. I have a hard time saying that, but I hear it a lot from customers. So something I've got to get used to.
Yeah. The old car dealership slogan of putting dreams in driveways.
Pretty much, yeah. And we have a big hand in that. Dealership work is anywhere, depending on the month, it's 40 to 70% of what we do. You go buy a new vehicle, you want some window tint, or you want a wheels, tires, level kit, they bring it over to us and we make it happen for them.
That's cool. So like what What got you into the industry to start off with? I mean, what got you into doing a custom upfitting work?
It started, man, like when my dad was a mechanic my whole life up until after I left. I got out of high school. He went into management, but I would literally skip school to watch him work on other people's cars at the house. Cause he worked nights. So during the day, when he was first getting started when he went to work for UPS, or even before then, let's back up. So I was like 7, 8 years old. I would literally tell my mom, like, I'm sick, I need to stay home. She'd go to work or be gone. Well, I'd sneak out of the house. Dad's sitting in a car, got the top end off, doing a top end rebuild or something. I'm handing riches, watching him. It was his deal. He never wanted us to be mechanic. And well, here we are. I put my first lift on when I was 16 years old. So that was 94, 95.
Yeah.
And it just kind of went from there. I kind of dabbled around working at a Meineke for a couple of years. And I was in Ford Parts for another couple of years. And I ended up had an opportunity to move here to Oklahoma City to work at another store. And that kind of exploded. We took it to about a $6.5-7 million deal, and from a $3 million in just a matter of like 2.5 years.
Sure.
I was the main sales guy, manager, right hand man to the owner of that deal. Then I had my former partner here approach me from Fort Smith, where I grew up, and wanted to open a store. So we, parted. I left. I got fired from that place there he found out what I was, talking to this guy. So my hand was kind of forced to go into business by myself.
Yep.
Luckily, he'd been in business a long time. I'd known him a long time. I knew I was eventually going to have an exit from him. And this was 2014, November 1 of 2014, we opened this. And then February of 18, he and I had a falling out. We're amicable again. For anybody, I'll go into this, like if you go into business with somebody, have an exit strategy or know that it's going to get ugly at some point in time. That's probably one of the biggest things I learned. That luckily mine turned out okay. So August 1 of 18, I took over from him with zero operating capital. We made a few mistakes, but we made it work. And we've grown. We're about a $3.2 million a year deal now. There's just 9 of us here. So, and I've got my 2 main guys have been with me since 07 and 08. And next tenured guy's been with me for about 6 years now.
Gotcha.
So
You got some experience on your team.
we've got some good experience. It's something I always love to do. My main deal I always want to do is hot rods, but I figured out real quick, you don't make any real money building hot rods. So this turned in, once I moved here, I couldn't believe like what it was. And it's like I said, it's always what I like doing because I've been lifting cars for beer money when I was in high school. You know, I went to high school with all the rich kids. I wasn't a rich kid. So we learned real quick, like we're going to make some money, beer money, or what we want to do. We want to build our own trucks. We got to learn. We got to get our hands dirty.
No.
Even, you know, in this shop, I can do everything that we do in this shop except for window tint. But luckily I don't have to, but I think that's been something that's helped us because like when I tell a customer exactly what it takes, they know I'm not bullshitting them. Like I've been there, I've done that. My guys all know what we're doing. And yeah. And there's a long-worded version of how we got there, but
It adds credibility to what you're doing when you've gotten in there and done it yourself, right? Like anytime you can prove that you put the work in and you know the systems and the processes that you've done and how to do it, not only do I think that builds loyalty with your crew, but from a customer standpoint, you know, when you say this is the price, like that is the price, right? There's no haggling, and that's an advantage that I think is lost when business owners take over a business that they're maybe not familiar with or haven't directly worked in. Sometimes is you don't know what you don't know, and you can lose money that way. So I totally understand and appreciate that. You know, what has been your favorite project that you've worked on since you've been doing this kind of stuff? Like, is there like a couple cars or, you know, that stand out?
There's one in particular we dove off into. Everybody talks about SEMA builds. In the industry for us, SEMA builds, like anybody can have. Most of them on the truck side are garbage. Like I said, I was always a hot rod guy. I grew up watching Boyd Connington and like, I've always admired the details and the little things. Like I like to build something where you look at it, you come back, you're like, I want people to come back 5-6 times to keep looking at it because they see something different every time. So we took off in 2017. A friend of mine bought a brand new Nissan Titan XD. And we took and tore it down to a completely bare frame. My main guy, Brad, we took it to his home fab shop and we put in Super Duty axles front and rear, a complete 4-link front and rear suspension, totally one off. Then we took and filled in 116 holes on the frame, had that all painted to match, powder coated. It was copper in the blue, tore the cab completely down, sound deadened it, all new interior, audio, lighting. We had like 86 rigid rock lights under it. So we literally spent like 2.5 weeks wiring lights. And this dude went to SEMA. Of course, you know, SEMA, there's no awards, anything like that. We were on the cover of Lifted Level. Is in a couple other magazines. Also was in a lot of different just online publications. But the coolest part of that is I got to go to Barrett Jackson and be on stage as it rolled across. It was the first like big truck they'd ever done. Had it on prime time Saturday, hammered price for like 100-something thousand. Everybody told me like, you'll never sell that truck. You'll never sell that truck. And boom, we hammered it away. And then the owner actually gave all the proceeds to Camp Kanakuk up in, I think, Missouri. So, and the dude never even drove the truck. I mean, he's been a friend of mine and a customer for a long time. He's like, here's a truck. Tell me what you need from me. Let's make it happen. Do something cool to get y'all's guy's name on the map. And I feel like it did there for a while. It was tough because, you know, we put our heart, soul into that truck. Kind of hurt to see it go away, but everybody, like people still remember. So like, oh, y'all built that Titan. Like we've gone to a couple shows. Like I remember your blue truck, man. That thing was cool. So it had a lasting impression. It did its job. It's not the kind of projects we like to tackle. But for us too, like what most people think is like a huge project truck, that's just like it's another couple day week build for us. We're pretty fortunate with a lot of the customers, the base that we built, and they drop it off. They're like, I want this, this, and this. They don't give us a deadline. And I'm like, cool. But we always try to exceed, my motto is you can't make no money looking at them.
Yep.
So I don't want them waiting around here. And yeah, it's, that's the one that stands out the most, long story short. Like, I don't know how many the magazines I bought. I've got stacks of them at home. I keep one in my office drawer. Sometimes I got to go back and look at it. Like, okay, we've accomplished some cool stuff here and there, and we built a handful of other SEMA rigs for people and whatnot. And most of those, it's just, man, to me, and this has been a hard thing for anybody in business like this. Is it's hard to think, like, to us, what a lift kit, a 6-inch wheel and tire package for somebody, that's their world, dude. Like, they've been saving for months or even a year or 2 years to get it. And when you do 10 a week, like we can do, or we do, and sometimes it's just another truck.
Mm-hmm.
They're all excited. And like, the hardest thing for me that I've really had to focus on, and what's, I think, helped us at 21, is I started like making myself get excited again. I'm like I have to, I try to bleed off their energy, what they're giving me, of how excited they are. And that's really helped my retail come around more, which we've had a good retail. Man, I've been in retail since I was 14, selling Arby's sandwiches and whatnot, so it's whatever you do. And if you have to deal with the public, man, make sure you like genuinely get excited and like genuinely show them you care and you like what they just had you do. And it'll just pay you to get dividends down.
It's easy when you're in it every single day to forget that, even when I was selling cars too, right? Like, you sold and moved so many cars to the dealership that a lot of the time, and a lot of the complaints for people is like, it wasn't as exciting as an experience as I was hoping it would be. And, one of the things I tried to do as a salesperson was just match the excitement of my customers, because maybe that is the one brand new car that they've ever been able to buy in their lives, right? So like, why wouldn't I be celebrating that right along with them, even though I maybe sold, 15 cars that month already? You know what I mean? So I agree with that 100%, right? Like, it's remembering your first feeling when you did that first lifted truck that you did that got you excited, right? And that's the experience that customer's having for that very first time as well. So we had that experience when we were putting stereo systems in cars back in, the like 90s and early 2000s, right? We did a ton of them on the side, me and my brother and some friends. But then, it gets boring after a while because it's the same thing. But
it does.
But yeah, that person that's just doing it, that's new to them. So
yeah, that really has helped me. Like, honestly, gone through a bunch of mental stuff ever since COVID. Everybody thought 2020 was gonna be hard. I'm like, man, like 2020 was a breeze. About halfway through 21 was a breeze, and then, dude, it has just been a mental grind since 21. So in my mind, I'm like, I've got to figure out how to make myself get back to really enjoying what I do. And I just focus. I sit on the counter. Like, nobody wants to believe me. They walk in, they're like, oh, who owns it? I'm like, I do. And they're like, what? You're sitting on the counter, you're answering the phone, like, you're happy to talk to us and you want to be here. I'm like, yeah, dude, it's like, this is fun. Like, I joke with friends, or like people we meet, they're like, what you did? I'm like, I spend other people's money. And they're like, what are you, an investor? I'm like, no, man, I get to build. I make their wives unhappy because they just asked for $3,500 for a level kit, wheels and tires, but the wife's mad that she sees the truck and she's all ecstatic, or their kids are happy. So that's a hard thing and it's still, man, that's a grind to do day in, day out. It's like, oh yeah, another F-150 with this. But at the end of the day, man, now that I've adapted that mentality, and it's not even a habit. It's just who I am now. Dude, it's great.
That makes a huge difference. And like, to your point, I think that goes back to, like, honestly, a lot of the things that I've talked with several other business owners on is it's kind of embracing the boring of your business, right? Like,
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
When you can get to a point where you enjoy the boring stuff that you do at work every day, like the stuff that is just super, like you go in and it just doesn't excite you, but you're excited because you know that the people you're doing it for love it. Like that's really, from what I've heard from other business owners as well, like that's when their business really started to kind of take off, because they just, no matter how they felt that day, they're going to go in and they're going to do that boring job, and they're excited to go do it. Like they woke up excited to go talk to people at the counter again and go do that 30th F-150 lift that week, right? And it was just kind of like also just embraced it, and it's kind of almost grounding yourself to the why you got into it in the first place. And we got to go through that stuff once in a while, because business ownership is a, entrepreneur depression is a real thing. And it doesn't get talked about enough of how burnt out business owners get. And I'm sure you just mentioned that you just went through a period of that for yourself. Did that bleed over into your staff at all when you were going through that time yourself? Or was that something that you were able to kind of keep it to yourself a little bit? Or
Man, I tend to wear my emotions on my shoulder, or well, not on my shoulder. Like I show it physically. Once it gets to a certain point, like I'm pretty good at it, but there was a lot of times like I go back and look at it and I'm like, man, damn, I could have been better here. But my staff, for the most part, like my main dudes back there, and I say main, there's only 4 of them in the shop. So they get it because they're right there. I'm very open with them about what's going on with the business. But again, they see it too, because if there's not a stack of work orders deep, or if they're done by noon on Friday, they're like, oh, damn, like they know like something's up. Like, and if I'm a little bit stressed or I'm a little bit uneasy, they know it's because we're not booked out 2 weeks. When you go from being booked out 2 weeks to you're booked out 3 days a week, you're like, it's people like, oh, that's cool. It was good for the techs for a week, and then by the second week, they're like, are we cool? Like everything good? I'm like, yeah, it's gonna get better, And if I did, there's times that snap or they'd snap, and I did. I about fumbled a couple relationships back there with the guys. I won't say one of them in particular, and I look back and it always happens. Like me and this dude had been like, we're friends and we're homies, and we have been since we met in '08 when he came to work for me. And we were at the Christmas party. My wife got talking to his wife, and they both had the same things to say. Like Holly had the same things to say about him as she had to say the same things to say about me. So I'm like, okay. And I give my wife all the credit. Like she's super good at reading that. And she brings me a line, and she was like, hey, he's got this going on and that going on. And then you had this going on. Like you two need to just like go hug, make up, and be cool. And then it's like I brought him in and I'm like, hey man, here's what's going on. Here's what I got here. Here's what's happening. Like, I'm sorry. He's like, okay, cool. Dab it out, hug it out. And we're good. Drink a Mountain Dew together and off we go. Where it affected me the most was my home life. Like being straight up. I would try to put on, like, I'm the super strong one here. I'm gonna take the burden. And when it was really bad, I didn't want anybody to know here. I just like keep the good gang face on. Everything's all right. Like, especially when we're slow and things are bad. Like I know I have to be more. I have to be more positive and put that light out. And then I'd go home and I was just a fucking train wreck, dude. Like I would just come in, I'd start barking at the kids. I've got wife and 3 kids, and I'd bark at them, and my wife's like, you need to figure this out. I'm what needs to be happening, or I'm letting everything from this, the stress from that, pile on there. Mm-hmm. And if you do that, it's damaging, and you don't realize it. Because again, I'm so like one-sided. I'm in it. At the end of the day, I have that thanks to Andy, I have the zero options mentality. And it's funny to hear him say, because I've rolled with that from day one. I've never had anybody fall back on. Nope. Even when I was working for another guy, like it's but the depression you talk about, it's real, man. And like I said, from about October of 21 to the end of 23 was probably some of the darkest places I've been mentally. of trying to keep it together for here. You know, there's a couple I walked in one time, told my guy here, I was like, hey, buy me out. I'm done. Like, I'm out. He's like, what are you going to do? So I'm going to go buy a skid steer and push dirt. He's like, what? You can't do that. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, for real, I'm done. Like, I need a day, you know, see you later. But I still show up the next morning, you know, I'm like, all right, let's figure this out. Let's put it back together and make it go.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. You know, I'm technically officially my first full year of business is March 3rd, right? So I've been a W-2 my entire life. I'll be 39 at the end of this year. And I've always had fairly secure, fairly high paying jobs, you know, being a GM and then also being like a sales director. And, you know, so just, it was kind of weird because I almost had like a depression, kind of the same time frame, honestly, from like the end of 21 when COVID went, because like in automotive, like it was nuts through COVID.
Horrible, bro. Yeah.
Sales were insane. Stuff was moving, but I was like never home. And I think like the lack of being home and lack of social contact and stuff with like friends, like it drained me to a point where I was like, I need something different. I love automotive. I'll never not love automotive. But it was like something had to change. And so like I changed careers thinking that would help. So I got a sales director role with another company, and it just like something still felt off, and mutually left that company February of 23. And didn't really know, honestly, like I didn't really know what I was going to do. And I was like, I'm just going to start my own business and go do something. And my wife is like, what? I'm like, yeah, I don't want to collect the baby anymore. She's like, you sure about that? I'm like, I think so. You know, I'm like, I'm just tired of like, I don't know. I'm like, I'm just tired of building stuff for other people. Like I want to do something for myself for once. And so like I did that. And like, honestly, like this last year it's been rough, right? Like I haven't made anywhere near the money that I did, you know, as a W-2. Obviously your first year of business, anytime it's always going to suck, but it's been like the greatest suck that I've ever like been a part of. Like I've been like the happiest. I'm like a picture of that dog in that meme, you know, where the room's on fire around him. I'm like, man, this is great.
Yep.
Having the time of my life, you know?
Embracing the suck, man. It's exactly what it is.
It's such a weird thing, you know, and like talking to all these other business owners like you yourself and, you know, a couple other people, like it's cycles. And it's like we get these moments of highs, and then like the lows, it's like they suck. And I think, you know, that's the importance of getting into rooms and surrounding yourself with business owners and other people that think and are going through the same things you are, so that you can relate that to them. Because whether or not we want to admit it, our spouses probably aren't equipped and shouldn't be equipped to be our, what's the word I want to be? Our accountability partners, maybe is the right word. I don't know why my camera just went blurry at me, but you know, they're not there for us to like dump on to a point, sure. But, you know, I think it's unfair to them when we just pour everything out onto them. Mm-hmm. And, you know, expect them to have answers for us, because they don't always know what to say, and they want us to be the ones that are like, oh, we got it. Right?
So that's the guy thing. You're like, I got it. Yeah, the world's on fire. I got it. I'll make it happen. You know,
the husband of the day. Yeah, dude, always be strong.
Yep. Yeah, it's hard. The other thing, like right now, I've kind of figured, like, man, I've always listened to podcasts. I've always been a fan of Andy's podcast. I listen to a lot of Ed Milet too.
Yep.
And Hormozy. And I was listening to it again. He's talking about where you're in that. So we're in year 10, year 5 of being like completely on my own. And I figured, like, I was like, man, I don't know what's going on. I can't figure this out. Like, I got to get out of this place. And I got thinking, I was like, man, let me back up. So I went to a car event with some friends that, you know, I've known forever. Bro, I just didn't fit in. Like, I had nothing to talk about. Mm-hmm. And I was like, why? You know, and I got thinking, I was like, I got like one dude I talk to regularly. It's my homie we go the dunes with. My wife loves him, my kids love him. But aside from that, it's like, that's my only friend. And I was like, I'm in that lonely spot where like I'm past the other people, but I'm not in the next room yet. Even though I realized I never thought I was in a room before, but I was.
Yep.
And it really hit me as like, I went over to the neighbor's house the other night and had some friends there. and they were talking about some stuff. This is going to sound horrible, so I hope you don't ever. I don't care. So I love the guy, love him to death, but it hit me like a ton of fucking bricks, dude. They're talking about like things that like I've already done and had, and I'm already been there, and it's like this crazy high for them. And I'm like, that's it. Like it clicked. Like I'm in the middle. I'm in the no man's land right now. And it's the now I had all the words in my head. It's the imposter syndrome. You know, and you feel like I felt like I never thought that was real. Dude, it's real as shit. Like I literally for the last, especially this last year, you know, after what talked to you about what I had going on, it's so real. Like, and I'm like, man, I try to think about this stuff, and I'm like, this is what's going on. Like, I'm in the middle of this nowhere. I've got a few people I can turn to. I've reached out to a couple people that I consider in the next room where I want to go. Actually, they're 3 or 4 rooms away from where I am, but they're cool enough and chill enough. Like they don't see it that way, but I've really been leaning on them a little bit for some advice, tell them about what's going on. So anybody that's in the business, man, always look ahead and find that guy that if you can click with them at all, don't tell them you want anything. Just the best thing you do is like, hey man, like you're this much further ahead of me. Here's what I got going on. Can you just listen and offer me advice? You know, luckily the couple of these guys, I can just text them like, bro, what do you think? And I might not hear from them for a couple of days, but they'll, you know, all of a sudden 10 o'clock at night, boom, I get the text like,
Nope.
hey dude, here's what I think, or call me in the morning.
Yeah.
And that's been a big help. And it also, you'd be surprised how much you think like just are mundane thoughts about what you're thinking about, but there's a reason they're in the front of your head with everything else you have going on, payroll and bill and people and everything else. And if that stays in your head, then you need to go ask somebody and figure it out.
That's an interesting thing, you know, like, so having been a successful W-2 employee, you know, having scaled, you know, some dealerships from, you know, 20 cars a month up to, you know, close to 100 cars a month, and adding money and doing like building all these processes inside of another business that's already built. Yeah. One of the things I've learned really quickly is that, number one, I'm a delegator. So not having anybody to delegate to sucks. And I hate a lot of things. I've learned that real fast. But also like, it's such a different world when it's your own shit, versus somebody else's. And you know, I understand now why, like sometimes the owners of those places would just like fucking blow up on somebody for something. And I'm like, yeah, like that's their stuff. Like it's stuff that I didn't understand and it never clicked with me as a W-2 that I totally understand, even though my business is still just my home office, right? But it's still my stuff. It's still my information. And if somebody's out there, you know, and it gets misrepresented one way or another, like that's my name attached to it. And so it's just an entirely different like feeling. And so for me, it was going, okay, I got to shift my mindset here from like W-2 employee to like doing things for myself. And that means doing the stuff that I don't like doing, which means that I need to go find people that have already done this and think like I do, that are at that other level, that have gone through and are probably like year 3, 4, 5, you know, 10, 15, whatever. And I go, hey, what did you do when you first started? And how did you get through these like walls? Because it seems like every like 3 months, it's another new wall that I'm hitting. And it's like, okay, how do we get this hurdle? How do I get over this? I have a nice little run of like, you know, new clients, and it's like all of a sudden, like it just stops. And it's like, all right, so now how do I get, you know, how do you just keep moving it? And you can't do that if you're hanging out with the people that you hung out with when you were at that W-2 job and they were all W-2 thinkers, because you're not going to get the information and the ideas that you need to move forward and progress in your business. It doesn't mean you can't be, you know, friendly or whatever with them. But what I've found is that, yeah, there are a lot of times now where like I go hang out with people and that I used to hang out with a lot. And it's like, wow, this conversation is actually really boring and almost mind numbing, like in a way. Like I want to ask questions. I want to get challenged. I want to have people point out what I'm doing wrong, what I could be doing better, and just have like forward thinking conversations versus just like, you know, oh yeah, we had a great week. I'm glad it's Friday. It's like I want to people that are happy to be at work every day.
Yeah, same, like me, and it's hard, like, with, I got 3 kids, 12, one's fixing to be 10, and the other's 6. So, like, finding trying to, the balance that everybody talks about, like, it's about impossible, but it's also like, man, just the mundane like, just the mundane stuff, I'm like, I don't wanna hear it, even though it's like, I love my kids, and they're telling me about their day, they're telling me about this, and I'm like, it's hard. Or, like I said again, being over at the guy's house and hearing them talk about it, I'm like, I'm out, bro. Like, I gotta go. Like, I can't be here. I can't hear this. I need to be on the move. I gotta have, like, my mind's always rolling about what I need to do, what we got to get done, or what I didn't get done that day. And if they're not on that page, like, I just don't have time. And going back over the last couple of years, like, I thought it's just everybody. My wife tells me I'm the nicest asshole ever, is what she said. And I think about it, I was like, man, it's just like, I just don't have time for people. Like, if you're not trying to, like, if you're doing the same thing every day, day in, day out, and, like, the world needs worker bees, the world needs this, the world needs that. Not everybody's cut out for this.
Yeah,
But I just don't have the mental fortitude to put into you in that regard. And that's a super hard thing to get past, because you're like, man, I'm really kind of an asshole, or I'm just like this. No, dude, that's how you know that you're going in the direction you're supposed to be.
you're learning to protect yourself. It's fine.
Yeah. And that's part of saying. Yeah, my wife had a hard time understanding, like, I'm protecting myself. She's like, you have all these friends, you have all these people. I'm like, they're not my friends. That phone rings, so I get that text. It's usually because they need to know something or they want something from me. And I appreciate they're calling me and they're wanting something from me, but I'm not, like, aside from using up my energy or the little bit of financial gain or whatever we get from it. I don't know how to word that. Word doesn't sound like crap, but you know what I mean? It's like, it does nothing for me but eat up my time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm out. I just don't do it anymore.
No, I feel that. I feel that to the core of, like, I only have so much time and effort and energy to give. Like, I want to give it to something that's going to drive either myself forward, the business forward, or the person I'm working with forward.
Mm-hmm.
That energy is just focused on complaining about stuff that we really don't have control about, or I got somebody that just keeps complaining to me about their situation, and it's the same complaint week after week, and they're not doing anything different. It's like, man, like I told you 2 weeks ago, like, if you're sick of this, like, you need to start changing stuff, and you're still complaining. Like, no, I don't need to hear that, because I've got my own problems that I'm pushing away as well and trying to get better. Right. So, like, you can't just take on the world on your own. So
No, you want to. You want to be that guy that knows everybody and can help them with everything, but you got to draw a line in the sand.
Yep.
That's hard. Like, it's really hard to do. I used to kind of, like I said, listen to Andy's podcast, listen to Hermosi and one of them. They're like, dude, your energy and what you're getting in and what you're putting out, like, you're gonna feel like an asshole. You're gonna feel like you're not doing the right thing, but it comes to you that you do.
Absolutely. Well, man, we'll wrap it up here, and I appreciate your time.
No problem.
On the show.
Yeah.
And having the opportunity to chat with you. If any of the listeners are in the area, and maybe you probably got some people that come from out of the area to get some work done, what's the best way for them to find you and reach you to inquiry on that?
You can find us. We're on lost the train of thought. We're on Instagram, Facebook at Cali Customs OKC. You can find me on Muck's Off-Road and Marine. I do a little bit of cross posting here and there with the store page. Pretty accessible. Like I said, we're right here in Oklahoma City. Or you can call us 405-634-6386. But again, I think we're on Twitter, my wife, or X, whatever it's called. My wife has us on there too. I have no idea what the handle is. I think it's just Cali Customs. I know. Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate your time. Awesome, man. The show.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Paul.